Good evening, November Foxtrot. We're joined this week by Chris from Vortex Optics. Well, Chris, are you from Vortex or are you from CSW? Because I've had a nightmare trying to brand this on Instagram for the last few days.
It's what confuses everybody. I am, to use my official title, the operations director for CSW, who are Vortex Optics UK distributor. So no, I don't work for Vortex, but they have, I forget the number, but every country tends to have one or two UK distributors. So I am that UK distributor. Cool. But yeah.
Nice. We like that.
So do you get direct from Vortex then?
Yes. So my so the way it will work with me is that Vortex Optics, based in Wisconsin in the US, I will order in from them and they send it to me. And then I distribute onto shops. So no one sort of buys direct from me. I then sort of handle, I want to say 300 UK accounts up and down the UK and Northern Ireland. So that's how we come into it. That all makes sense.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So hi Terry, Damien, Kenny, Andy. Oh, right, Andy. Rage. Harry. How are you doing?
Sorry.
Hi Danny. So yeah, how are we all doing? I know Lance and I were at Legion last weekend, so I know we're probably still recovering from that.
Indeed. It was fabulous, wasn't it? How good was that event?
My leg is genuinely the same colour as my t-shirt right now because I proper stacked it onto a pile of rubble.
For a moment I was quite concerned about your tumble you took, but then the way you styled it out and just like leant back against the wall and went like, it was a bit of a Hamlet moment. I wasn't waiting for a big stogie to come out the top pocket and just go, oh, I'm not moving for a bit. It was very styled out, your tumble.
Helium level. Did he not squeal at
helium level?
You know
what? There was no helium level. There was no. It was on par with Rage's tumble he took at APOC a year or so back. It was good going. It was good. I don't know if there's any camera footage of it surfaced yet, but I'll be excited to see it.
I've never broken my leg, but I was genuinely on the cusp of thinking that I had. It was that level of pain. So, hi Pegasus, thanks for joining.
Evening, gentlemen.
So yeah, this evening we're obviously joined by Chris. So we're going to be talking all things optics. There's a few questions that have already come in on Instagram. Thanks to Rage and Silly Gilly. But if you want to throw a question into the chat, please just add a little cue to the start of it. It just makes us easier to find them. But other than that, cool. Chris, do you want to just launch into it and tell us a bit more about you?
So, I mean, just to introduce from my point of view, when I started to work with Vortex Optics, we became their UK distributor like 5 years ago. And so, I mean, I played Airsoft probably since I was 12. I'm 35 now. So, like, I've been back and forth in like the Airsoft stopped, came back, stopped, come back, and all of that. We took on Vortex. I think one of the things everybody kind of knows Vortex for is the warranty. I brought some cool examples. Like I was like, I really hope someone can remind me where I got this melted 1 to 4 crossfire and cantilever mount, because it came off an Airsoft safe zone where something just caught fire, burnt the safe zone down. And someone dug through to find this, which is the most amazing thing, and then sent it in to us. And they said, if I remember, they sent it in wrapped really nicely, so it wouldn't get further damage. It was the most adorable package I think I've seen, and it was like, thank you for taking
no damage incurred during transit. I like to add.
I was waiting for it to come in and be like, it doesn't hold 0. I can't work out why, or just like, might be a battery fault on it.
Just doesn't quite sit on the rail properly.
So I sent it back. I mean, to be fair, you can see the etched reticule still in here, which I thought was really like interesting. But yeah, it just carried this problem out. So covered by the warranty, although it's accidental. So we sent them out a new mount and a new 1 to 4. But yeah, so that's sort of, but that's how we work with Vortex Optics when we handle their warranties here in the UK. Every now and again, at a show or something like that, someone will come along and be like, "You replaced or like you fixed my optic or whatever," which is always nice. The other thing is like convincing people it's a real warranty, which is why I take these to shows and like, no, I promise it's not like a trick. And then there's always the question like, what happens if Vortex Optics just disappear. They just got a $2.7 billion US military contract, so they're probably around for a little while longer.
Yeah, safe to say, I think.
Yeah, I think that's quite guaranteed, isn't it?
It was huge. I mean, I'd seen like they were pitching for this contract a while ago, and there was this really cool optic. They've done some awesome podcasts on it, but some of the tech that they put in there was is phenomenal. I'm trying to think what I'm allowed to say. What secrets can I give
you can
away?
tell us everything, Chris. There's no holds barred.
It's just you three, right? There's no one else, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the guy just off camera I'm worried about, Chris. Is just looking at you going,
yeah.
I start seeing like emails coming through saying, like, stop telling them secrets.
Yeah. This is when two men just take you away. Where's Chris gone?
Cameras just covered.
Yeah.
Reactive reticules in there. I'm trying to think of the official press release. There's some cool electronic kit in there, but underneath it all, it's still like a standard optic. So there's still a reticule, because the thing is, if there was like a EMP that knocked out all the electronics, can the squad infantry weapon still be used? And yes, it can. So underneath it, it's not just like a red dot or something like that. It's still like an etched 1-to-8 reticule, LPVO, which I always get confused on. And then end up calling them like LVPO or whatever, but low power variable optic, which is my big book of industry terms that I had to learn and still forget about. But yeah, and they keep adding. I mean, they put a new 1-to-8 Strike Eagle in the range a couple of weeks ago. That's first focal plane. I'm sorry, because I'm going to mention loads of stuff that maybe isn't hugely applicable to airsoft, but I'll dip in and out.
No, not at all, mate, not at all.
But like first focal plane, so they do. I think I've seen quite a few people running like what a lot of people call short dot. It's interesting. Airsoft has like some terms that only appears in airsoft, like short dots, where I would call it LPVO. But yeah, like the 1-to-8 Strike Eagle, then they made a first focal plane. So the difference being the magnification on a first focal plane will grow and shrink with the magnification. So if any of you guys run an optic with a crosshair, a reticule that's got like subtensions below it, they stay the same as you grow and shrink that magnification. So as you're shooting at different distances, your drops that you know your rounds would be dropping down to stay the same. So you don't just have it on, like, say you've got it on 6 times magnification, you know what your drops are for that, but suddenly you put it to 8 or you put it to 3 and it's completely different. So there's some cool stuff that they end up like putting in. But yeah, it's interesting to the crossover into the airsoft market, where some of the guys are running that really surprised me was like, there's no upper limit to what airsofters end up spending. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. It would amaze me. The guys are running like the razors, like the top end razors that are 1,800 quid, something like that, out on the streets. And guys like the airsoft, and we'll be chatting to them. We'll be like, "Oh, I'm putting this on like my M4 or something," and we'll be like, "All right, cool. So it's like straight pull 223." I'm like, "Oh no, airsoft." I'm like, "That's such a good optic." Like,
my God, man!
I'm not saying it's overgunned, but when I was like putting together, like I've got a 22 LR M4, and then I'm like, oh, do I put a Strike Eagle 1-to-6? And then I know there's some guy out there running like an airsoft, like M4 with a razor. I'm like, that's what certain like special forces are running. Yeah. So yeah, there's some cool stuff out there.
I think Ash or Pegasus on here.
Yep.
He's running one, and it is nice. It is a lovely optic. You look at it and you go,
oh,
yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong, my friend.
But looking through it is so lush. It is nice.
Some of the stuff like the UH1. So the UH1 or the QE, when that came out for the airsoft market, everyone went crazy for that. And again, I was amazed because it was £600, something like that. And it's great. It's a lovely. It's the only holographic Vortex do. They did the Gen 1, they did the Gen 2. But it's the only one they dipped into doing, which would really interesting to see. But yeah, and again, for the airsoft market, so many people sort of coming on board with something like that. And I think it's just that quick target acquisition and how quick you could be up and on something with it. And it just focuses in the eye just to like pick up targets. But that was super interesting to see. And it's like the trend in the airsoft. Then they did the Crossfire, Red Dot came in after that with the skeletal mount. And that, again, I think it retailed under 200 quid, still does. And to pick up that, and they did a Gen 2 with a stupid long battery life of like 16 years, something like that. So it just runs forever.
So it'll last a full skirmish day then?
I've got so much feedback on this.
Well, that actually leads nicely onto a question from Silly Gilly, and he's asked, has Vortex ever considered making an optic just for airsoft?
Sorry, I've got so much feedback coming through on mine. I'm just going to play around and see if I can sort this out on my end.
No worries. We can fill the gap.
Specific scope.
Yeah. We'll let Chris have a fiddle.
Let Chris have his little mid-show fiddle.
Yeah.
And then we'll,
I guess an airsoft version would only be accurate to 100 meters. Anything past that.
Well, I think that's pushing it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And we're talking 100 airsoft meters, yes. 100 actual meters.
Yeah, it's great for Johnny 600 and his 600-yard sniper rifle.
Yeah, it's got times 600-yard magnification on it. Oh, is it really, John?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Pegasus says UH1 was the best purchase I've done, to be honest.
Yeah.
I love using the triangle in CQB. So I presume it's got like a little triangular reticle.
Yeah.
Nice. I was actually interested in watching a couple of videos on YouTube yesterday regarding scope positioning on the rail of your riff or whatever it is you're using, and having it set how far back depending on how far forward it gets, and the eye relief you get from either side of the actual frame of the scope. Like obviously you're getting a larger sort of like a 70-30 split to the right and left hand side of the scope. The further it moves away from your, obviously if you're bare your rifle and then moving the red dot away, slowly produces that larger picture. Obviously where it's coming up close to your face, it's framed then, so you're limiting your tunnel visioning almost yourself. So it's central of the M4.
This is it. Yeah, because the red dot, you've got that advantage of unlimited eye relief, so that you can put it right the way forward on there, and literally just pick up targets. A lot of the time we get people that will use one, they'll close one eye to shoot with it. It's like, no, that's exactly what you don't need it for, because you've got that binocular vision on there, and you can use it, and you've just got that huge peripheral vision just to pick up and shoot. It's, the huge advantage. I mean, I could talk about like height above bore all day and the difference it doesn't make on shooting. Again, ballistic arguments about like, and it's when you start pulling out a ballistic calculator and being like, look, I'm right. But it's when you realise that maths is literally just like being a nerd. Or sorry, the shooting's just like being a maths nerd with gunpowder, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's
fine.
It's just like ballistic nerdery, and you're just like, look, I've got this weight and it's going this fast, and this is the height above board. I've got this here, and I'm grouping here. I was like, and it's great fun if you like that sort of thing, trying to like work out quite what you're doing or how tight you can start to get groups. But yeah, for just like red dots for just straightforward shooting, brilliant. You can go miles out. I was shooting like 4-inch gongs the other day just with a red dot on top of a 22 LR, and you're just like, right, okay, I can just bring this down, and then ting ting ting, perfect. So yeah, for quick shooting, great. And again, like the LPVOs that I was talking about earlier. So I brought some of my demo kit. So I'll show you. Like,
I'll tell you what, hang on. What we can do is we can make you.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
There we go. So, yeah, 1 to. I can actually do this now. Yeah, the 1 to 8, and they do a 1 to 6 on there. But because you can bring it down to just 1 times magnification, you can run it like a red dot. But then, if you wanted to, and the nice thing on those is where they chuck that little throw lever on there, so you can bang it up and through. and then you suddenly got all the way up to 8 times magnification.
Nice.
And I ran. I don't have it anymore, but an ELL M4 that I used to just stick one of these on, and for shooting, brilliant. You could put it slightly up onto like, I used to run it on like 1.5 times magnification, so draw my eye in really quickly. So you just suddenly pick up, and then just for like airsoft, brilliant. And then you got all the way up to, you could use it like a scout scope, and bring it up 6 times magnification and just scanning across and looking, and again like identification and things like that. Perfect.
That's quite a really compact piece of kit as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean they're tiny, really. And then every now I saw some guys running some of our bigger scopes, like the 5-25 PST. I remember looking, we're just standing around in the safe zone, maybe. But anyway, I just saw this guy and we were chatting, and I was like, "That's a PST 5-25." He's like, "Oh yeah, it is." And I'm like, "That's a really nice bit of kit." And he had it like a sniper rifle, and I was like, "Oh right, so what made you choose that?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, it's one of my mates recommended it." And I'm thinking, that's like an £1,100 scope that you've got on there. That is nicer than what I've put on my rifle.
It is crazy, isn't it?
And yeah, so they got, just like, wow, it's a really nice bit of kit. And then just like chatting through, it's amazing what draws people into certain optics, whether they're going for like a look, or whether they're going spec wise. And it's always like, what made you choose this? And some people are like, oh, I went in the shop and I like this, and then I was looking at one thing, and then the guy said, oh, well, you can go for this Vortex, it's got an unlimited lifetime warranty. And they pick it up and look through and say, oh, actually the clarity on this is tremendous. And sort of what they end up going for. I think my favorite thing that Vortex do in their range, and it's the thing I never end up using on any of my airsoft guns, was if you come across it, the Spitfire AR, so the little prism scope that they do, and it's got the donut ring reticule on there. There you go.
Yeah, I got one of them. Loved it.
It's my favourite. It says it's 1 times. I'm not sure if it's slightly magnified, but the clarity on the glass is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And for like, again, with that donut ring, like it's got a proper name and I forget it. But just for straight like picking up again, targeting, like right, brilliant, on it, bang, 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 and away you go. Great. And then they expanded that range last year. This is the thing with lockdown, is normally I can judge it by like what we had at a particular show. And because I've not had shows to break everything up, I forget. But it came out sometime last year. They did a 3 times and a 5 times Spitfire, and they replaced the old 3 times. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. Had like the Picatinny rails on the shoulder at 45 degrees, so you could mount more optics on it, and you could make some like huge. Well, they brought that out, and then they replaced that, and that 3 times was really polarizing. People either loved it or were like, "That looks like an abomination." And then there are some. Some of them are quite quirky. I always look and think like these always confuse people. It's always fun to see that someone's mounted it like the opposite way round. And I always get people at the shows like pick them up and look down the wrong end, and they're like, "Oh, I can't. It doesn't really look right." And I was like, "If you'd like to just, there you are." Oh, that's better. I remember being a guy rock up at a show, and it was a small show because I had them all on like a table just laid out. And this guy picked up, it was one of these, or it was one of the 1-4s, picked it up, went, yeah, I like that. And then just like put it back down and then walked off. I was like, you had it the wrong way around the whole time, and you still approved it.
It's going to literally blow your mind when you look at it the right way.
Like, the lack of faith that guy must have in his vision over the scope is phenomenal. I was just like, what broke you in life?
Really, really nearsighted.
I don't remember. He's just like, oh, 2 of these are great. But no, it's strange. I always think, with the airsoft, people always come and they ask like, what should I use, or what would you recommend? I'm like, well, it's always nice when you've got the demo kits. I'm like, just have a look through everything, and that's why I really appreciate like the airsoft guys, like Pegasus, if he's still in there, or if he's just disappeared off in the middle of my rambling. But like, have a look at this, have a look at my optic, and people are like, oh, I really like that. So you end up with a load of like brand ambassadors almost, where people like the brand and are like, oh, come and have a look at this, and then you end up just building and building, and that's kind of how we ended up with the airsoft industry. Was because airsoft's always quite like a close knit community in a lot of ways. A lot of people cross over and seem to know each other, and we ended up sort of going along that route, and more people were kind of just like showing each other Vortex Optics, and then we went on to more and more shops picking us up, which is again really, really nice, and it just sort of grew out that way. I had some shops at the beginning who looked at the stuff and were like, oh, it's a little bit expensive, I can't really see it being a bit of us. And then they came back to me in like 6 months' time after people had been like, can you get this Vortex stuff in? And then they'd phone me up and be like, can we get an account? I'd be like, yeah, sure. So no, it sort of grew through that, which is nice. And then like the crossover into...
I'm just going to interrupt. Silly Gilly says, I like showing my Vortex to people, but I'm no ambassador. I just need to flex. I always get asked. I get asked a lot for sponsorship. Every now and again, I get people saying like, "Well, will you sponsor me?" It's always an interesting one with people with sponsorship. We do a few bits and pieces with people. It's never something that we've really fully explored. It's trying to get it right in something like, how would we go about it? Every now and again, I get like a ridiculous request, like, can I have a Razor 1 to 6 or 1 to 10, and like, will you pay my fuel and entries to like these things? And I'm like, if I'm paying for anyone, giving anyone a load of stuff, it's gonna be me. So I will happily go and do these things. I was trying to think earlier when you guys were saying about playing at the weekend. I'm trying to think the last time I played, and I really think it was last like February since I've been out and played airsoft. It was a real shame because I really enjoyed it. It's
on that note, then, Chris, going back slightly, what actually drew you into airsoft? Then, where did you sort of like the grassroots come from for you getting into it?
When I want to say 12. I'm going to stick with that. I was 12. It was me and my brother. So we grew up on a farm, and so we had a friend who had like an airsoft gun and told us that there was this game that you could play where you wore like safety goggles and you could shoot each other with like a Springer airsoft gun. And we were like, that sounds awesome. So we just started like playing on the farm. And then one guy got the FAMAS or something, like their first AEG. And then it was like everybody versus the guy with the AEG. And then we were like, oh, wait, we could buy an AEG. So it got like, because you get older and you got slightly more money, and you'd end up with like a few of you with an AEG. And then we're playing like just on our farm. I crashed one of the, like most farms, we had like a farm truck. And I crashed the farm truck into a shipping container whilst trying to like escape across the farmyard, and did bits like this. It was great fun. But yeah, and then we learned like skirmishes existed and started going from there. And then we went to play at Free Fire Zone, but they're like their first woodland site. I'm trying to think where it was, near Peterborough. Outside there, it used to be like 2 or 3 small games in the morning and then like one big objective game in the afternoon with a road of like rolling different objectives at different times. Then like then they had the RAF Upward site as well, which I think is just closed. Am I right?
Yeah, as now, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So so they went and played there. Then I think I stopped playing for a little while. I must have been 18, 19, something like that. Then I stopped playing, and then I went back a few years later, like you do when you like find all your kit again. You're like, why did I stop doing this? This was great. And then like dipped in and out on airsoft, and then I think I came back into it. I mean, I worked in the firearms industry before I was the Vortex distributor. Before I had a wholesale company, I worked for a shop, and then we picked up the opportunity to do Vortex, and then the wholesale side picked up, and then it took me back into like playing airsoft. And so, like, my nearest shop was Orleans Combat UK down in Stevenage. We sort of picked up from there. So no, that's really how like my airsoft career, as it were. And I was in a Stargate airsoft team back when I was like 16.
Stargate,
I remember doing that.
Wow.
I had like the full like Stargate kit, everything. I had a P90. I had a P90 and then I changed it out when you used to get. Do you remember those horseshoe batteries you used to be able to get for the P90 with an extension on the stock that let you like jam it in, and you would just load the end out. Like this would have been Airsoft before like Yukara and everything like that. And so so I remember doing that. But I'd forgotten about that. I still have those patches somewhere.
I know somebody who's going to be getting their Stargate kit on after this. And watching some episodes.
I'm going to go back through and look. I must have that kit somewhere. I'm going to find it. But yeah, so I had that back in the day. But yeah, it was always great fun. But yeah, and then just like messing around at home, basically in the safest possible way. But like playing on our farm is how we did it. And then we started playing again recently, just on the farm. We were like, we've got a load of woods, and just like go and mess around. Awesome. So yeah, that's how we sort of started everything off.
Have you still got the Vortex shield or the Captain Vortex shield?
Oh, it's in the office.
No, we'll have to post a picture up.
I've got it in the office. I've got like a media room, and so yeah, it's hanging up in the office in there. And I remember like because all the rest of the company are grown-ups, and I remember like, quietly making that Captain Vortex shield. I was like, I'll just like nip to Halfords and get that spray paint and like buy a children's Captain America shield and just respray it. And then like eventually everyone was like, what have you made? I'm like, oh, don't worry about this. It's marketing stuff. To be fair, it was like the best like marketing I think I ever did. It's always disappointing when you end up doing a load of marketing stuff. And I remember I spent ages making this like annotated like diagram of a spotting scope with all the different parts and all of this. And I was like, people are going to love this. I put it up on Instagram and I got like, I don't know, 20 likes. And I was like, people hate this. And it took me ages to make. And then I'm like, Captain America shield. And I was like, yeah!
You got to know your target audience.
I think he loves a scrap heap challenge.
It's just like, just go for like an arts and crafts project and people love that. Like, don't. Actually, to be fair, my arts and crafts supplies are now really good. I've got loads of glitter left over from when we were sending glitter to patrol base after they sent glitter to us. So yeah, there was all of that. But yeah, no, we it's nice to work. I mean, for the company, we're quite relaxed anyway. And Vortex are super relaxed. Like their social media stuff is really cool. They're really friendly. You could ask them loads of stuff. They're just super nice guys. But I always waited for the phone call from Vortex to be like, why are you messing around so much? Be serious. And then we see like the stuff they do and it's like, oh, actually, it's fine. So yeah, they're really, really nice guys. It's nice to work with a company that's just so aggressive. The way they keep growing is phenomenal. I know I was saying to you guys before about like, so they started like early 2000s, just like a brief history, but yeah, started early 2000s, grew and grew and grew. Their new factory they put in is like 330,000 square feet in 150 acres of Wisconsin, that they like bought up, and they're family owned. But yeah, that they bought up and then grew and then did all their development in-house. And now they're putting, I want to say it's like 120,000, something like that, factory, like warehousing on the side of it. But then they put like indoor shooting range on there, so they get to all the really cool pistol stuff. And they've got like a kill house that they use for training. So it's modular as well, which is the best thing I've seen. So you can move all the walls around. So if you wanted it to be, if you were training for like home defense, if you wanted to look like as close to your house as possible, you could move all this stuff around for like home defense, which is really interesting. Really cool instructors as well. So like ex-law enforcement, ex-military guys that they sort of just got in on their team. So no, really interesting on that. And then, yeah, they're just, again, really nice to work with. If you ask them for staff, they're really helpful at actually just like images. And if you're like, can I have like this one behind me. And I was like, can I have this image? Because I quite like it, and I can only find it like in terrible resolution. And they were like, yeah, of course, here you go. As a wholesaler, stuff like that is just brilliant to get. It's really refreshing.
We're getting quite a few questions, so if it's okay, we'll just jump and fire through. We'll go back to Silly Gilly's question before we had the technical difficulties of. He sent this for us, and he asked, "Has Vortex ever considered making an optic just for airsoft?"
I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer the question with a question. Like, what is an airsoft optic? Would be what would people be looking for in that? Because there's a load of stuff that is.
Yeah, he put a follow up. Sorry, Chris. He said, "Can I also ask Chris what features he would want on an airsoft scope?" I'd like really uncluttered reticles so I can see the BBs in flight.
I would say there's a couple of bits that are already applicable that exist in there. So if I wasn't Chris from CSW or Vortex Optics, whichever you want to think of me, and I was looking for something, I would go and I want to put my hand in my pocket to buy something. I'd either end up with a 1-4 Crossfire or a Strike Eagle 1-6. I think they've got the best reticule related to airsoft in that it draws your eye into shooting a person, a target, within like 40, 50 yards, and just straight on there. That is what I put in. The glass is good. Light gathering is really good on it. Contrast is really good on it. And also, am I ducking in and out on picture? Coming in for coming in on for airsoft. So I'd look at a 1-4 or a 1-6 Strike Eagle is where I put an airsoft optic, or a Crossfire red dot if I wanted something that's got a small profile around the outside, and just red dot just for straight up shooting would be my answer on that.
That one there. Oh, there you go. I've
there you go. He's already set up.
Strike Eagle 1-6.
We've got a technical question from Rage, who was sent in before. He's got a magnifier that didn't work with his Spitfire. It is a cheap magnifier, or is it because it's a prism scope?
It's because it's a prism scope. Prism scope you won't get, because a prism scope is an etched reticule. It won't work with a magnifier. A magnifier will only work with red dot. So you're right. It's that is why.
Brilliant. Who else have we got? I think Harry had one, didn't he? Harry had a question early on.
Harry said, there we go. If I have a problem with my Vortex, do I go to the retailer I bought it from, or you at CSW, and do I need the original receipt?
No, I don't care. Best thing to do, in all honesty, is send it to me as CSW rather than sending it to the dealer, who's then got to send it on to me. Really, warranties are my job to deal with. We've got great dealers, and a lot of dealers will be really helpful and do everything and sort it out and send it back to us. But really, it's our job to deal with the warranty side of things. So I'd say just send it straight to me. Receipt doesn't matter. I don't care if it's got the original box. Some people are lovely and they've got like everything. I saw one.
I must admit, I'm one of them. I keep original packaging, and it just goes in a bigger box in the loft inside a box.
It is. Some people. I mean, I've got none of my original boxes. I think everything just like disappears and goes. I had someone who sent in some binoculars that are the original Razor binoculars that must be, if I said 15, 16 years old at a guess, because they've got the old Vortex logo on there, and they still have the little badge pin that you get with them in the box.
Wow.
And I'm definitely going to steal that badge pin. But it's the only thing I want is the little bits of swag that Vortex send through. And we'll get like some cool new scopes, and I'll be like, no, what stuff? Does it come with a sticker? Give me that sticker. That's what I want.
There must be a patch in there somewhere. Come on.
Yeah.
Chris, just in terms of like the receipt and stuff, I know you mentioned earlier that sometimes you get clones sent into you.
Yep.
How easy is it to tell a clone from obviously the real deal? Now, I mean, obviously you know your products.
Yep.
You know the Vortex stuff inside and out, but I mean,
yep.
are the clones close to being like proper, or are they like you get them in, you're like, oh, that's a clone. Like it's a million miles off.
Yeah, somebody's painted a V on the side of the try to flag it, basically.
Some are very good, in all honesty, in appearance. I'll get photos from people that will say, like, can you tell me if this is a clone or not a clone? And I'll look and I'll be like, it looks legit, but send it in and I'll double check it over for you. There are some that I look and I'm just like, that's a clone. That's 100% a clone. That looks terrible, unfortunately. And it's normally after, unfortunately, someone's bought it. Or if they're fortunate, they've seen it on eBay and someone's saying like, oh, I'll deliver it to your house and sell it for cash or something like this. And like all of these weird signals. But yeah, if it looks too good to be true, if someone's selling like a Razor 1-6 for like 75 quid, that's a clone. Because otherwise I'd buy that. I would. But yeah, they will end up being clones. So yeah, it's looking on the logo. The font sometimes looks off. If you can look through the optic itself, the quality won't be what it should be. But they can be deceptive, unfortunately. So yeah, there's nothing I could tell you that is like a clear indicator that you could see that would make it a clone. Serial numbers are always a nice one. Most of the Vortex stuff is serialed. But you know, if you're ever in doubt, just drop us a message. I'll do everything I can to help work out if it's real or not. Because that warranty, it does transfer over onto, even if it's second hand, third hand, doesn't matter. You're still covered by that, by owning the product. So that answers your question, hopefully.
Yeah. Just going on to the warranty side of things, I've seen it pop up a few times.
Yeah.
Is everything still covered if it's sprayed?
If it's sprayed, no problem. Yeah, I get asked this quite a bit. As long as you don't. Vortex actually did.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a stickler for rattle cans.
There's some Vortex advice out there on if you've got it Cerakoted, they've got some advice on there. If it's like rattle can, there's some advice. They did one of their podcasts. They've got their Vortex Nation podcast that's got some really good information. But they did an episode on Cerakoting and like painting it, spraying it, anything like that. But no, you're completely covered. Just like cover up the lenses, take all the sensible precautions on there.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the only thing is, if you send in a sprayed up like warranty one, I'm not going to respray it for you.
Damn it!
You can have my terrible attempt. But, yeah.
No, that's. So, is there anything that isn't covered by your warranty at all?
Like deliberate damage, stuff like that is not covered, which is, I think fair enough. Cosmetic damage isn't covered. Again, like if it affects the optical quality, you're covered. If it affects the use of it, you're covered. If it's just like a cosmetic thing, you've got scratches or whatever on there, no, I'm afraid not.
That's a fair one.
That's good. Yeah. I think we had one from Terry. Terry Gillett. Hi, Chris. I have a Spark AR. When I look through it, sometimes I get like a red shadow when looking through it.
Red shadow. Might be like redding out on there. What I'd always ask, is it a fault that's developed or is it a fault from new? Either way, you're covered by it. Usual thing, which I think everybody tries when anything like this turns up, is to just try and give it a tidy up wipe on there. See if it's something that's on the lens inside or out. If it doesn't clear up with that, send it in to us. We'll put it through. We've got a warranty centre here in the UK that undertakes repairs. Send it to us. We'll put it through and see. Top of my head, it might be that it's taken a knock and lost the purge on there. And so you'll get like a slow bleed out of the gas, which will possibly cause some fogging on there on the inside of the lens. That's my best guess on there.
Yeah. So would it be all right if he maybe sent you some photos?
Oh, sorry, I keep losing my signal. I'm not sure if I'm getting some terrible signal on here.
Oh, you seem to be all right coming through to us.
Yeah, crystal clear for our end, mate.
Yeah. Maybe you don't like us.
I'm just going to play with my audio and see if I can clear it up.
I'm just worried what photos Terry might send Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just any random pictures, or do you want some specifically of
Yeah.
the scope?
There we go. Right.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. Sorry.
That's
I
all right.
missed your question.
Yeah, so he said it's usually around the edges.
Yep.
He said. But if he needs to like send you a couple of images of it looking through, would you be able to?
Yeah, I can advise
him a
through
little
there. It's probably going to be a case if it's something that's a continuous fault that's coming on there. Best it is, it comes into me. I'll put it through the warranty centre and sort it through there. Whether it's a repair or a replacement, that I couldn't tell. But if it's affecting the optical quality, that's what we're here for. We'll turn that around. Spark ARs, I think we're pretty good. I think on something like that, we're normally about 48, 72 hours that we can turn stuff around on and things like that.
Wow.
But yeah, the thing is, because most of us, actually no, our warranty guy shoots now. We brought him over to the shooting side. But yeah, that we all shoot, so we understand how important it is that people get stuff back as quickly as possible and get back and get shooting. So no, we try our best to make sure if I ever need to take stuff from like my retail stock, I'll take it from retail stock rather than. It's more important to me that somebody is looked after the way the warranty is meant to work, that we have something to sell. So I'll just sort it out that way. But yeah, we'll get it taken care of.
All right, brilliant. Empire Airsoft has also said that he's asked us very nicely that basically he's asking if he could stock your product. We would like to stock Vortex products. How can he go about
the best
sorting
thing
that
to
out with you?
Would be to contact me. If he drops me an email through our website, which is csw-online.co.uk, drop me an email through there. I will send across a dealer application form, and we can set up through there, and then we go from there in terms of setting up accounts. But yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Cool.
Lovely. You can get a lot of email from us. Can I have this, and this?
I ask for dealer shop photos, minimum order.
Just to be safe.
I sort of look. It's when it's from like a Gmail account, and it's just like, oh, I would like to set up this account. I'm like, right, £100,000 minimum order. It's do you want to do that? Fantastic. Okay. Wicked. Look from Henry. There you go, guys. You get no commission if I get set up an account for this guy in terms of sales, by the way.
There we go.
That was my next question out the window then.
Yeah. I've got a question from Lance. It's do we get commission?
Sorry, I was trying to delete that quite quick.
I will. Yeah, I'll pay you in gratitude. It's handshakes and high fives.
I think we're working on.
I've got a question. Have you ever, has Vortex ever sort of considered doing any sort of thermal or night vision stuff? Obviously,
I get asked this quite a lot.
Experience with optics and stuff. I just wondered if it was like sort of the next step of this.
I get asked this one quite a bit. To the best of my knowledge, there is nothing planned. Is my answer. So I know nothing that they're bringing anything out. I ask them every now and again, and they tell me there's nothing slated on the release sheet for the near future. It's something I would love to see. And then also from the technical side, I dread because I wait for like software updates and things like this. But I think it'd be a really interesting thing to come out. Like night vision and thermal has jumped so far in recent years. Some of the stuff out there is like so cool. If you've played like with different generations, you can see how quickly stuff has started to like come along.
Chris, you literally, as you say that there, the weekend, the gentleman who owns Empire Airsoft is a very good friend of ours, and he was actually in our section for this for the Legion Glad 5 event. And he brought his new toy along, which he got from, I think it was Scots Country Sport, the new thermal.
Scott Country. Yeah. Oh.
So and I got the pleasure of having a little look through that whilst we was on Stag, and it literally blew my mind of the clarity of this scope. I mean, it was almost to the point where you were looking through it, and it was like you were looking it's almost like it wasn't quite real.
Yeah,
it was too clear for it to be to possibly be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is
like
that
I know
level of
thermal's irrelevant during the dead of night or during the day, but I mean, this was unbelievable. It was almost like.
Play it.
Will it play? I don't know if it will play or not.
But
it was
getting there.
I'm fascinated now, like how. See, that's brilliant.
I mean, that is.
Yeah.
Is that sped up, Mark? Like, it looks like it needs some Benny Hill music to it.
I don't know how well it's playing, to be fair.
Yeah. No,
but you get the idea. I mean, it was unbelievable.
The contrast on there is, and I could go on about light gathering, which will bore everybody, but contrast is what you really want in terms of clarity on things. And the contrast on that is brilliant. For just like picking up detail is just phenomenal. It's really interesting now. I looked through some old night vision not long ago, and like to realize how bad old night vision was, in terms of like frame rate and everything, and it's like moving in slow motion. It's just so, and like compared to what you get now, and then like the cost that's come down. I remember I went to IWA, the big German trade show in March, and I went there pre-COVID by a couple of years. Anyway, I remember looking through. They had like it was like tripod-mounted thermal. I remember looking through that, and I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant! How much is it?" And they're like working out, and it's like $60,000. That is so much. And then I start to look at the stuff that's coming out now for thermal, and you're like, "This looks really similar in terms of quality." What I was looking at, it's like that cost just dropping down and down and down in terms of production gets so much more affordable. It's incredible to see. So I really hope Vortex will come out with something in the future. I would love a demo set because I think it would be great for me to play with. I would look forward to the demo kit.
Obviously.
Just like asking Vortex, can I borrow like some stuff just to play with? It's always nice. So no, it's great to see. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, if Vortex came out with their own night vision with the VIP warranty, I mean, you'd have probably everyone in the country buying them.
I think there'd be a lot of people kicking down a lot of doors to get to that sort of stuff.
It'd be brilliant. I would be really excited to see that. And the nice thing is, if they brought out something, the quality would have to be so high because of the way the warranty works. It would be, you couldn't do something and rely on the fact that it's going to last for like 1 or 2 years, because that's how long, you have to, by law, you'd have to have something that lasts just forever, because I can't see them changing the warranty on anything. Fingers crossed we'll see something in the future, but there's nothing I know of slated in the release.
Do you think the US military contract might push them in that direction? Like with them saying, we want a thermal?
It could well do. The nice thing is that military contract apparently is all being done in the US. So it's going to up their production capability massively. So, I mean, they were saying about, I was listening to their podcast, they were saying about, like, will there be a civvy version of that military optic? And they were like, not until we've fulfilled X amount or we've met certain production, like, levels. But after that, so we might see some cool bits of that technology come out across into the civvy market, which would be really nice to see. So, yeah, fingers crossed. It should be some good stuff coming out of there. I think it's one of their first big, or it's definitely their first big military contract, but I think it's one of their first sort of, military contracts in general. They've mostly been like a commercial company.
Pegasus will have to buy a new optic when they bring that one out then.
Yeah, he's actually right. We're saying there, Pegasus, regarding the digital night vision is coming on leaps and bounds now, and that's reducing the cost of products that are coming out, so which is always good to see. Making it a bit more affordable for people to get involved with.
Yeah, definitely. I think we had a nerdy question from Rage. There it is. Nerdy question. What wizardry did Vortex do in the glass in their scopes? The clarity on the Spitfire AR and the way it seems to be brighter to look through baffles me.
It's It's to do with lens coatings. Is like the simple answer. So the way I always explain, people like for optics, people are obsessed with light transmission. Like some of the scope companies will put out there, this is like 94% light transmission, 96% light transmission, whatever, like on this, which is great. But it's what you do in terms of contrast. Like if you've ever worn safety glasses with orange lenses, it blocks out blue light, so it gives you everything looks a little bit crisper. And it's because of the way it blocks light out. So the coatings, so the glass that they end up putting on, and like you end up with, I mean, people often think that like an optic is like one lens here and one lens here, and the rest is just whatever in the middle. There's like loads of lenses that run all the way through. And it's the coatings they put on the lenses that will that makes the big difference on there. So it's how it lets light through and what light it lets through. So like if you wanted a better picture on your television, it's the contrast that makes the difference. You don't just put the brightness up to like 100. Otherwise it just washes everything out. So that's what they do. And like there's secrets and secrets and secrets. There's a really, again, good podcast that Vortex did with one of their optical engineers. And they were saying about like they have some kind of weird, like awesome computer program that they say kind of what they want from it, put all the information in, and then see what glass they need. And glass itself makes a big difference in terms of like quality and clarity, in like what you end up getting through it all. They did a new range of binoculars called the UHD razors 2, maybe 3 years ago. And I've become, in a lot of ways, like a bit blasé towards like binoculars because I've seen so many binoculars now. You don't tend to get that excited. And we got them through, and I grabbed them out, and it was autumnish, so you had like long evenings. And where we've got our offices, we're on a farm, and we have barn owls. And I was following the barn owls round with these binoculars. And the interesting thing, what really blew my mind, was like following this barn owl and then taking the binoculars down. And it was so much darker to my eyes than having the binoculars up. And it was just the way that like light was coming through that gave somehow more light than existed outside of having the binoculars. It's a bizarre thing. So there's a load of like wizardry that goes into creating lenses that just improves light transmission and clarity or contrast. So yeah, that's basically why it ends up looking better, is what they do to the glass and what coatings they put on.
Now, I'm guessing what you said there, Chris, about is obviously there's a stackable order throughout the scope. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what the process would be of getting that order correct.
It's like
to achieve what they want to achieve with the scope.
Well, it's like when you've got your like I've got the LPVO here, this one's an 8 Strike Eagle. So like when I'm moving this, it's ever so slightly moving a lens further forward or backwards, but it's by like millimeter. I'm trying to remember the total travel was something like 2 mil or something on the inside, one of the internal lenses. So all the other lenses are staying where they are. I mean, you've got your turrets on here that are controlling windage and elevation, and then your illumination. And so you end up moving like the lens forwards and backwards slightly. It's the manufacturing that goes into it is fascinating. Every now and again, I get people with who are like they end up like moving when they're dialing in their scopes, and they end up moving. So you've got your windage and elevation, so elevation going up and down, windage going left and right. Because of the tube is a circle, essentially as you're looking down it, you can top out on your elevation, try to go to your windage, and you end up coming down and round because it's a circle. And it's fascinating the way that it ends up moving on like how much kit they put in there. And so people end up going for like a larger tube will give you more adjustments, and it's why we've seen 34mm tube jump up. Like when you're a kid, if you had an air rifle, you end up with one of those like pencil thin old BSA ones or a 1-inch tube, and then they've got like slowly bigger and bigger. And you see like Vortex, I think the biggest they go to It was 35 mil. They had a 35 mil tube, and they've just got rid of that in the current lineup. I think 34 mil is the biggest they go to. But yeah, it's the mount that you end up putting inside these optics. I'm always looking for a really fine saw, just because I really want to cut one just straight down the middle, so I can see everything in there.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And then set it up as like a display. So yeah, if someone could like just somehow damage something just enough that I can't repair it, but could cut it in half, that'd be brilliant. So I'm just waiting for that magic opportunity.
I know it's just clever people, but I mean, it's things like, for me, it's photocopiers. I can't work out how someone invented a photocopier, because there's so much going on there. Like,
but do you reckon it was their arse was the first thing they printed off, though?
Yeah, I hope so.
Upon inventing it, I know what I'm going to do. Look at my arse.
I think I've got it ready. Just get that arse down here. Get it on there. Just scan that.
I think it's going to work.
It's all I want. I don't know. It's amazing. Like, I explain it in a very sort of layman's term, in like some magic comes in one end and then you look out the other. But just like, it's amazing how stuff keeps, or how they keep coming better and better and better. Every now and again, I submit like a dream scope that I want them to make, and I always feel bad because it always feels like I'm just writing like a children's letter to Father Christmas, and I'm like, I've got my crayons and I'm like, dear Vortex, please make this scope. Like,
here is a picture.
It's like, could you please make it? And I want it to have these features and this and this and this and this. And then I assume they get like this email through, and I send it to the international ops guy from Vortex, who I've got a really good working relationship with. And he's like, all right, I'll pass it on. And I don't know if he does. I don't think he just puts it straight in the bin. But I really hope it just goes through to like the engineering department, and they've got my like.
Put it on the fridge.
You may well have your very own wall out there, Chris. We don't know yet.
I think they're just like, oh, he's drawn another one. All right, brilliant. Good work, buddy. That's you keep them coming.
Well done.
I don't know. I just look. It's one of those things I always wonder. It's like when you talk to somebody who's very clever, and you make the mistake of half talking about something you vaguely know in their field, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm instantly too deep on this.
Yeah, oh dear.
Please don't.
That's what happens in this box all the time.
By this box, you mean like the whole screen?
Yeah, like this.
One big box.
See, I always work like a children's piano teacher, where I just try and stay like one lesson ahead of anybody I've got to talk to. And I can be really smart and be like, oh, well, of course, it's like, you need to know this. So, yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I've got to quickly go and research this and just look it up, and so I can come back to like the follow-up if anyone asks me a question. And I'm like, oh yeah, hold under. You don't know about hold under, idiot.
It's where you've got Google on your phone and you're holding it just off a camera like that. Yeah.
I always feel that. We have like conference calls with Vortex every now and again. And I always fear they're going to ask me something very complicated about optics that I should know. And I'd be like, usually like trying to. That's the only good thing, is learning all the Zoom call like tricks over the last year to try and get out of these things.
Just turn yourself into a potato or something.
But no, it's nice. They gave us there's an old handbook that I looked through that they've got on they've got a really nice dealer login thing. Or distributor login thing, and they've got like a handbook on optics, and I'm like, yes, this is a great cheat sheet. I'll just go through all of this to find out anything I need to know. Like there's a color chart for showing how good optics are in terms of what you get in clarity and color neutrality. If you want to talk to anybody about optics, use the term color neutrality, and what it means is like colors looking like they actually should. And so if anyone's using optics for like photography, so a lot of people will get like a spotting scope, telescope that they want to use to photograph birds. So they'll have like an adapter that fits their phone or whatever onto there that they can use to take photographs. They want the colors to be the same as what the bird actually is. So color neutrality is a really important thing. So yeah, you can say that and you'll sound really clever.
Chuck that in a I'll do chunks.
We're all making notes.
The thing is, I'll end up using it in completely the wrong context. It's like, what do you want about, you fool?
I've got really good color neutrality on my scope.
Or tracking. It tracks really well. It's the other one. Box test, so you can make sure when you're dialing your scope, you can shoot 4 corners of a box and it will be a perfect square. Again, really important. If the tracking's not good, you end up out all over the place, but you should be able to dial the same number from left to right, down, left, right, left, and then back up, and it will make a perfect square. And then you should be able to do that out at 100 yards on a. It depends if you use MRAD or MOA, but yeah. But yeah, other little bits and pieces like that. So yeah, there's little industry terms you end up picking up, which are really nice that Vortex gave us an easy to digest guide that you didn't just like go off on what you'd learned previously and just assumed was right. So yeah.
I think Mike's got some lovely comments that he.
Oh yeah, everyone's been very active in the chat,
especially about your beard.
I've ignored all those.
I've got it in my Amazon basket. I must get it ordered and delivered to your house. It's one you can just hook on over your ear rolls.
We need to get more people on the show without facial hair. That's all I'm saying.
Essentially full ZZ topped for next Wednesday.
Pegasus says Vortex crossbow is probably the closest to Airsoft Vortex has gone. Will Mill Dot for 100 meter. So, yeah. Pony Tony 729 says I bought a Spark AR when I first started Airsoft. It's the one item I've kept and never sold. It's been shot so many times in 4 years and still not broken. Talking of letting people sort of see kit and bits and pieces like that, had to do that in the safe zone to someone in the safe zone. Was a bit of a debate as they couldn't wrap their head. Oh, sorry, this was the scope being the wrong way around.
Oh, yeah.
As around the bigger end being where your eye went.
The bigger end being where your eye went.
Pegasus says, shame I don't get commission on optics sales from lending them out.
Yeah, to be honest, it was Pegasus that got me to buy both of mine.
You can have a sticker pack. That will be.
There's a sticker en route.
Or just give him a pat on the back.
Well done. Just from a distance with a broom is my.
Michael Perry says Strike Fire 2 is a great red dot.
Mm-hmm.
I love those. Pegasus, I have 2 micro 3x boxes now. So.
Strike Fire 2, is that the similar one to the aim point sort of style?
No, the aim point one is like the Crossfire red dot. Actually, hold on, I've got demo kit. I keep forgetting the demo kit. That is the Strike Fire 2.
That's the kiddie. Yeah. That's
so cantilever mount on their flip caps that every now and again people lose. But yeah, that's the one that sits on there. Yeah. So this is a nice thing. Cantilever mount comes with this, which everybody always likes. They updated the bright red version of these that again has a stupid long runtime. I want to say it's like 14 years runtime on medium settings, so it will literally just last forever. But yeah, that's one of them.
That was my first ever optic. That was for Airsoft.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I won it at Combat.
Did you?
At Rift Airsoft.
Yeah.
And that was the first optic I ever had. I was running around with a little IC Captain, and I was like, "Oh, £10 for a raffle, brilliant! I'll have that, thank you very much." Oh, the optic is worth more than the gun. I was like, yeah.
That's an epic raffle win. I think the only thing I've ever won is
I've been well impressed with that.
Yeah, that was pretty good, that one.
I've got to admit, I've always when I started Airsoft, I came into Airsoft quite later in life. I wish I'd found it in my early 20s, but then on the same side, I wish I hadn't, because I don't think I would have had a house now. Would have been one big thing. That would have been a problem with the wife and kids, but there we go.
You're on the tent, though.
A lovely tent. Yeah, spot on tent. So I've always treated sort of scopes as more of like a bit of furniture to make the rifle look a bit better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's just not me. I guess whether that's just me being my naive, but since sort of getting a DMR over the last couple of years and sort of actually getting into purposefully targeting something
Yeah.
And then obviously knocking about with the likes of Silly Gilly and Hutchie and all the other guys that Kenny Empire Airsoft, for example. Yeah. I've sort of become to grow more of an appreciation for actually what an optic does do, as opposed to just sort of like, yeah, it's just a bit of decoration on my riff. It makes it look a bit more special.
So when you see people have got it and then just shoot around it as they shoot it, and they're sort of, they've got it and it's on there, and you can see they're and they're just walking it in.
Literally got like their rifle like that, and they're like, yeah, just eyed it in and gone, yeah, he's there. He's got the rifle one side of the tree and he's looking the other. Yep.
Yeah.
Not blind firing, not blind firing. But yeah, no, I've got more of an appreciation now as to what an optic can do and what it does, and obviously since watching a fair few vids regarding placement and things like that.
Yes.
So I'm I now understand. I take it all back. Are an essential piece of kit.
It's going back through to find all of those comments to be like, oh, I've got to get rid of this one, and this one. And...
Well, I might get our lawyers on the phone quick.
We don't have lawyers. What are you talking about?
I didn't sign up for that.
I did not make that comment. No, I did not. Yeah, no, it's yeah, but that's Strike Fire. That's the one I'm looking at. So that's a nice bit of kit.
What's I got in my kit? Oh, they did their first. This was my favourite one. Was they did? See, I've even got the fancy box. Actually, the one thing that I always get really excited with, that no one else is excited by, are how good the boxes are now. Whenever I do an unboxing video now, I'm like, look how good the box is, and it's got like, you know, all the really nice printing on the inside. And everyone's like, yeah, cool. No, we don't care in the slightest. Just show us the optic. Was that they did a solar. So the Spark Solar that they released last year, I think it was. Yeah, solar powered. So again, stupid long run time. I want to say it's like 20 years, something like that. But this is my new favourite. Just because it's solar powered, but also they do it on this little low mount, and they also do a skeletal mount that brings it up. And it has buttons. We always debate in the office, like, do you prefer a dial like on the Crossfire that has the dial for turning up the illumination, or do you prefer buttons? And I always like buttons. I just think it looks neater. But see, I think.
See, I would say I prefer a dial, because when you've got gloves on, it's just that. It's exactly. It's just if it's fiddly, yeah. Yeah.
See, that's what I would get. People tell me is that they prefer having like, yeah, when you're wearing gloves, so you can just dial on there. They're wrong.
I prefer whatever Chris likes.
It's what I refuse to sell to places, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I really want that because the dial. No, you're not buying that one. You've got that wrong. You have a choice, but you made the wrong choice. So you're getting this. I know this is more money, but tough. I'm just going to invoice you.
See, I like dials because if you're sitting there, it looks cooler when you're doing that. Doesn't it? When you're looking down, if you're just doing that and mashing the side,
If you've got buttons, it's got to have a beep. It's got to go beep 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 beep.
Yeah,
tactical beep.
See, I could just.
As long as it hasn't got the Bofang voice that comes out of it. Frequency mode. No.
Oh, the only other thing I'll say the only other thing. The thing I really like about this as well is auto shut off, but auto turn on as well. So when you pick it back up, it turns itself back on, which is again one of my favourite features, because I always think about it for shows. Like when we've done a show, we pack everything away, and inevitably somebody ends up leaving loads of stuff turned on, and so you end up going to the next show, and you're like, we left all of these turned on, so all the illumination, everything is dead on all of our optics. So you end up having to go back through and quickly swap everything out. So you end up taking a bucket of what they called CR2032s, and having to jam everything back in, or you've got to go to the nearest petrol station and buy 70 bags of them, and then you have to remortgage your house to do it. but yeah, with these, they just turn themselves back off and then back on again. So winner. Makes no difference between buttons and dials, but you know.
Is that one night vision compatible as well? Is it all the new Vortex stuff? Night vision compatible.
I had someone ask me. The other day on the new Strike Eagle 1-8 that they've done. It's got MV1 and MV2 on there. And someone was like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, it's night vision." I was like, "Oh, wicked! They do night vision." So yeah, I was really, really impressed to see that come across. So yeah, more stuff coming now with night vision. Sometimes people contact me and like, the first 2 settings don't work, and I'm like, "No, they're night vision settings. You won't see them. Don't worry, your optics isn't broken." Oh, it just needs to be heated up. Just put it in the oven for like 30 minutes, and then that will work. It's just there was a warranty in the States for a guy who he'd moved into a new house and he didn't have his gun safe, and so he was keeping his gun in the oven. So like AR in the oven, and he preheated his oven, forgetting his AR was in the oven, and just melted it. So. And they've got like the interview video with him. I'll see if I can find it. If I can, I'll send it to you guys. They covered it on the warranty. But yeah, just melted his rifle in the oven.
This is what makes me think that some people shouldn't have access to firearms.
Yeah, it's very questionable sometimes, isn't it?
It was I mean, it's an interesting life choice to like, you know, forget about your AR in the oven. But yeah, I think that's the best silly one I think I've heard. There was a cool one where a guy, I forget where he was serving, US infantry. He'd taken his binoculars with him into theatre, and he unfortunately suffered like from an IED. And his binoculars got caught up in everything, and he took like what he had left of his binoculars. I don't know how anyone got it back to him, but took his like the bits of his binoculars, sent it in the box to Vortex, and were like, "Look, if you can fix them, great. If you can't, I don't want them replaced. I just want the binoculars back." So Vortex were like, "We are fixing these. Like it doesn't matter. We'll put these back together," and like completely rebuilt his binoculars with as much of the original parts and sent back to him. And like stuff like that's really cool to see. So no, there's some stuff like some of the like the warranty stuff. Lots of it is people. I think the most common one ends up being people putting stuff on the roof of their car and driving off, and just like end up just breaking it and then going back and realizing they've just ruined a pair of binoculars. Gather all the stuff up, send it back to us. I'm trying to think of some of our funniest ones. I haven't had one shot yet. There's a couple in the States where someone's left a spotting scope down one end of the range, gone to go and like start shooting, shot and just put a round right the way through their spotting scope. I've not had one of those yet.
As you do.
No, I'm trying to think of some.
I was gonna say, if you had a red dot sight that got shot out, it's probably not a funny story. Like that's not one that
buy a live round. It's probably it's
maybe it's not the best.
yeah. Airsoft, I think you'll just survive.
I think Airsoft is totally all right. No, some of the ones, some of our other ones. Every now and again, people just dropping them. Dog eating's always funny. Dog that's found binoculars. I've got one of those in the trophy cabinet in the office where this dog has just destroyed this pair of binoculars. And it's just come back to us in just a ruined state, and there was nothing we could do with it in the end. Too much of it was like bent and chewed. Bless. But so we end up some like that. But no, the letters are. There was a guy who fell off. He wrote me a lovely letter, and it was handwritten, and explaining he was climbing over a stone wall with his rifle, and just the stone wall collapsed, and he sort of managed to throw himself out the way, but the stone wall just ended up coming down on his rifle. He sent me pictures of the rifle, and his scope was just squashed. And I wrote to him. I was like, "Can I use this letter?" He's like, "Yeah, but I'm in the industry, so please don't use my name because I don't want people to know.
Supposed to be tactical as fuck, you know.
I think he managed to get not mentioned that he'd ruined some sort of like, I don't know. I assume it's a stone wall that had existed for a while. He managed to wreck it. So yeah.
Potentially been in a place he shouldn't have been in, maybe.
I think the worst, like just a general airsoft damage thing that I've seen was it was an urban assault. It was years ago. It must have been 15, something like that, years ago. And it was a guy rounding a corner on a low wall, and his gun was just trailing behind him, and he just took the stock. It was one of those like Vietnam style M16s, and the stock just disintegrated on the corner of this wall when he hit it, and he kept running for a couple more steps and then stopped and just looked, and his gun was just like destroyed from the stock down. He was just like, oh, I had this sad like walk back to the States. So it's a ruined gun, and it was just like, oh,
yeah, that's not a good day. Yeah,
no. Or watching a guy in game one on one of like the early support M60s that had all the plastic gears in it, just strip immediately, just like immediately started and then just dead. No, yeah, and that's when I'm looking. I think I'm always glad that we don't do a VIP warranty on like airsoft guns, just for some of the stuff.
Yeah, could you imagine?
I'm pleased we don't do anything that you can do too many modifications to. That's always reassuring.
One in from Empire Airsoft here, Chris. Can you ask Chris if he's met Stephen Rinella? He is sponsored by Vortex and a huge American hunter, a hero of mine.
I would love to meet Steve Rinella. He seems like a really cool guy. I've never met him. He's replied to one of my messages, is the closest we've come. But no, Meat Eater's been like one of the best advertisements for Vortex. The stuff he does is really, really cool. It's between Steve Rinella and another guy called Remy Warren. And I saw through Remy Warren a scope that was being tested pre-launch and before. I'd seen a prototype of it, and he had it on his rifle. I was like, that looks like, is that the prototype I saw? And I was like, and I messaged one of the Vortex guys, and I was like, is that like what I think it is? And he's like, yeah, it's out for testing at the moment. I was like, that's really cool. So every now and again, you see some cool Vortex stuff that's maybe not released that turns up in like guys they sponsors, like filming or something like that. They leaked a product on one of their podcasts a little while ago that I saw, and I was like, oh, that's interesting to know that that product might be coming out. What they said was this year. And so, yeah, there's little bits, but no, love to meet Steve Rinella. Seems like a really nice, really cool guy, but not yet. I'm trying to think of the most famous shooting person I've met. Might be Ashley from like Pegasus. Could be the most famous I think I've met. It will come to me. I've really offended somebody that I've forgotten that I've met.
wait for those messages to start pouring in now, Chris. You're like, God, I can't believe you.
Oh man. I walked past, if any of you guys, the clay shooter George Digweed, MBE, I walked past him once. I think that was the closest I came on there. No, every now and again, I think I got recognised weirdly out of context I coached judo at sports hall, and the guy came up to me and he was like, "You're Chris," and I'm like, "Yep." And he's like, "Oh, can I ask you about like an Airsoft Optic for a DMR?" And I was like, "Yes, I completely realised what you're talking about." I thought you were going to say
ready for him, like, what?
I was like, I thought you were going to ask me about like the rent. I think I saw a guy in Tesco wearing a Vortex baseball cap, and I looked and I was like, and I realised I'm wearing no Vortex gear. He has no reason to know.
Did you go and ask him for it? Excuse me.
Do you want me to sign that for you? I'm just like, I'm the UK Vortex. I just looked and I was like, oh my God, I've nodded this guy. He's probably trying to work out, like, and he's probably, like, every now and again, like, I saw that guy in, like, the meat, in, like, the cheese aisle, and he nodded at me, and he's trying to remember who he, like, went to school with or something. And I
just following him around the supermarket.
That Crossfire range. My dad gave me this cap.
We'd probably better wrap it up because it's obviously it's getting a bit late now. The last question I'll just throw in is from Silly Gilly. Does Vortex not dislike airsofters because of the smashed red dots from BBs?
They've never specifically told me they hate airsofters, just Silly Gilly. No.
Hey, there it goes. The troll has been trolled.
They don't. So no, I've not had to ever be like, we need to rein this in or anything like that. The only thing they ever say is recommending, like, if you're playing CQB or something like that, it's always worth just having one of those Perspex protectors because they cost like £3 or something, and it saves you the £8 of sending it to me via raw mail, and then the waiting time if it needs to be swapped out or repaired or anything like that. So we recommend precaution. We do a kill flash. Vortex do a few kill flashes. They exist out there. So personally, I always recommend running one.
So you can buy a specific sort of lens guard for your Vortex Optic, which sort of won't take away from the look as such. I'm guessing that's why people don't tend to use the sort of the lens, like the fold-up lens protector is obviously for the look.
It's the glass. You'll get an impaired vision through them because you're putting another lens. And when it's Perspex, so it's never the best. But if you know you're putting it into a situation where you're going to end up shooting very, very close, there's always that risk from there. So, yeah, that's what I always recommend. I don't think I've ever had a LPVO or anything like that shot out. It's just red dots every now and again that we seem to get through. But yeah,
I was going to ask Andy, do you use protection on yours?
What sort of protection do you use, Andy, before you go storming in? What sort of protection do you put on yours?
Oh. And that's it. Right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, there had to be some sexual innuendo at some point.
Exactly. We had to get it in there at some point. On the pun. Right, cool. Well, thanks, Chris, ever so much for coming on, mate. It's an absolute pleasure.
Very welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll definitely have to have you on in the future if you're willing to come back. Because
I'll bring some more.
Find out more about the US Army stuff. It'd be interesting to see how that sort of plays out.
I will try and remember the stuff I'm meant to actually tell you or allowed to tell you. It's not that I really know anything. It's just I try to remember what I shouldn't lie about. But yeah.
That's cool.
No, it's been brilliant, mate. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. If anyone wants to get in touch with us, you can do so on our email, which is nofochat@hotmail.com. Instagram is November_Foxtrot_NoFo, and our website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. And in sort of celebration, I guess, of Chris coming on the show, we've actually got a new discount code that's been uploaded to the website today. It's with Optics Warehouse. You can now get a 5% discount using the code NovFox5. There are a few little T's and C's on there, but they're all on the website. So if you're interested in basically buying some Vortex kit, you can get it from Optics Warehouse and you can get 5% off. Or if Kenny gets his arse in gear and sorts some stuff out for Empire Airsoft, there's also the Empire Airsoft discount code on there as well, which I think is 10%. Maybe.
Is it 10?
I think it's 10%. Maybe I think it might be 10. I'm double checking. Before I get it's 5. Sorry, 5% on Empire as well. Yes. Sorry, Kenny.
Kenny's sitting home going, fucking Jesus Christ.
Yeah. You're going to get some messages later. 10.
I'll never sign up for that.
So next week we're going to be doing a bit more of a Q&A session. We're going to have a little bit of a debrief as well from the Legion event. We didn't want to kind of distract from Chris being on the show this week. So we'll be doing that next week. But in the meantime, unless anyone's got anything else they want to throw into the chat.
No, I'm good.
No
science this week to cover. Didn't get any science done. So
no science.
No science.
Potentially science being done between now and next Wednesday. We'll see.
Cool. Well, in the meantime, keep your Camwater Garax up to date, which is the combat airsoft mobile weapons, assisted targeting, and ground air recce automated comm system sorted out.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
keep it on point, chaps.
We'll see you all next week.
All right, all.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Cheerio.
See ya.